At 4ZZZ, we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we broadcast. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging of the Turrbal and Yuggera people. We acknowledge that their sovereignty over this land was never ceded.
And we stand in solidarity with them.
Transmission on 4ZZZ, amplifying the trans and gender diverse community of Meanjin, Brisbane and beyond. Woo! You're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. Transmission, all about amplifying trans voices here in Meanjin and beyond. My co-host is smacking themselves against the table.
I really am. It's the morning.
It's the morning. I'm Ez, he, him.
I'm Brody, they, them.
And my pronouns are sore knee.
It's true. I've got one in like a brace and the other one has just been knocked on a table.
Oh, cool, you know.
I'm living life.
Well, you got a spare leg for a reason, so you get two.
Honestly, maybe. Maybe they both are functioning properly and not hurting.
Voices are good though, which is handy. You're listening to Transmission. We're going to be chatting today a bit about a few different things, mostly covering off on recent developments in community, like in the news, what's going on. So we'll catch you up on some news very shortly, as well as I'll be chatting to Brody about Mardi Gras. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on down in Sydney, what's developed, what's happened, where we're going, what the heck.
A bit hectic, yeah.
Yeah, very hectic. And also, Brody will be talking about an event coming up soon.
Yes, I will be. It'll be coming up next Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Online.
Ooh, that's accessible.
It is so accessible.
I like that.
It's all about accessibility within eating disorders and neurodivergent and gender diverse spaces and reimagining how they are treated within the health system. So yes, I'll be talking more about that a bit later.
Wow, exciting
Very
stuff.
Exciting.
But first up, before we just jump into the news, just a little bit of like a content and trigger warning. Sometimes on Transmission, we talk about things that affect the community, the transgender community, and for our trans and gender diverse listeners, things can be a bit heavy. So if you'd like to tune out for some of the news, please do so. But you're also welcome to listen back on demand in your own time as well. You can do that on the 4ZZZ website, 4ZZZ.org.au, or you could listen to our podcast, which is on all the streaming services you can, including for free on the Community Radio Plus app, which I recommend.
We love it.
Yeah. But yeah, first up, would you like to read the first one, or would you like me to read the first one? Whoa, I'll make it bigger.
All right, so I'll go with the first one because I can read it now. So the first bit of news is lesbians group's bid to exclude trans women heads to federal court. So it's a long-running legal dispute over transgender inclusion has reached Australia's federal court, where a Victorian-based organisation, the Lesbian Action Group, LAG, is appealing a decision preventing it from excluding transgender women from its public events. The group is seeking an exemption under the Sex Discrimination Act, arguing it should be allowed to hold lesbian-only gatherings restricted to people assigned female at birth. The Australian Human Rights Commission previously ruled against the exemption, finding the exclusion would amount to unlawful discrimination. During court hearings, lawyers representing the Human Rights Commission argued that allowing such an exemption could harm transgender women by undermining their dignity and reinforcing exclusion. The case follows years of legal challenges and broader national debate over how anti-discrimination law applies to gender identity and single-sex practice spaces. A federal court decision is expected later this year and could clarify how Australia's discrimination laws balance competing claims around gender identity and sex-based rights.
There are so many jokes I want to make about lag.
Yeah, right. I have so many in my head too.
Yes, well, they're obviously lagging behind. So, you know, I just hope we'll keep you updated on all of the news relating to that. Dear listener, it obviously has been going on for a long time. There are definitely more lesbians in support of trans rights than there are against it.
Exactly.
So it's a very small outlying group who, like I said, lagging behind the times. In other news, we're going overseas now. New Zealand government says transgender human rights protections, not a priority. New Zealand's government has confirmed it will not prioritise strengthening human rights protections for transgender, non-binary and intersex people, despite recommendations from the country's Law Commission. The independent review advised updating the Human Rights Act to explicitly prohibit discrimination based on gender identity and sex characteristics, including protections in areas such as employment, housing and access to services. Justice Minister Paul Goldsmith said the government acknowledged the recommendations but would not progress them at this time, citing competing priorities within the justice portfolio. Advocacy groups and unions have criticised the decision, arguing current legal protections remain unclear and leave many gender-diverse New Zealanders vulnerable to discrimination. Supporters of reform say explicit legal recognition is needed to ensure equal treatment under the law. While the government maintains existing frameworks already provide safeguards and that legislative change is not urgent, the decision comes amid wider national debate over transgender rights and policy direction in New Zealand. Yeah, there you go. So things are always developing down in Aotearoa, and we'll keep you updated with those as well.
The next bit of news that we have is transgender men challenge Kansas law invalidating driver's licenses. 2 transgender men in the US state of Kansas have launched a legal challenge against a new law that invalidates driver's licenses and other identity documents reflecting a person's gender identity rather than their sex assigned at birth. The lawsuit, filled with support from the American Civil Liberties Union, argues the measures violates constitutional rights to privacy, equality and due process after roughly 1,700 licenses were rendered invalid when the law took effect. Plaintiffs say the change forces transgender people to disclose personal information in everyday situations and exposes them to discrimination and safety risks. The legislation passed after lawmakers overrode a veto by Democratic Governor Laura Kelly requires all state-issued identification to list sex assigned at birth and also restricts the use of certain public bathrooms based on that definition. Supporters say the law is intended to protect sex-based spaces, while critics describe it as one of the most far-reaching anti-transgender measures in the United States because it retroactively cancels previously valid documents. The court case is expected to test the limits of state authority over gender recognition and could have broader implications for transgender rights nationwide. Yes.
Yeah, things are tense in the US
They
at the
are.
moment. Very, very, very tense. And yeah, again, we'll keep you updated on how things develop over there. I think I mentioned in a previous episode of Tranzmission, but I think it was something like over 600,000 people have relocated around the United States to find safer states to actually live in if they identify as trans or gender diverse, even families of with trans kids. So things are really very much heating up over there. Other than the news, we've got some events, some local events that you can check out in the next coming week. One of them is a trans youth fundraiser at Yard Dogs in Fortitude Valley on Sunday, 8th of March from 12:30 p.m. It's completely free entry. You can donate at the door as well. It's another trans fundraiser, this time for Ozpath's Project 491, who help trans youth access life-saving care, featuring acoustic sets from Emmy Hour, Nicolene Martin, and Pippin. Be sure to check it out. I've also popped them on the Transmission socials at Trans Radio with a Z, and you can donate directly there, or you can show up to Yard Dogs. Other than that, there's also a Monster Garage sale for Open Doors Youth Service. So St. Michael's Anglican Church, just on Brunswick Street in New Farm, Thursday 5th of March, Friday 6th of March, and Saturday the 7th of March. Completely free entry. St. Michael's Anglican Church opens its doors for its much-loved Monster Garage sale, bringing together the local community to hunt for treasures and support a good cause. You'll find tables full of artworks, clothing, books, plants, toys, CDs, records, jewelry, and plenty of surprises, along with a cake stall.
I love a good cake
Cake.
stall. I know, right? How good.
I'll just come for the cake.
Honestly.
And other freshly baked treats. Okay. This year, funds raised will be donated to Open Doors Youth Service, supporting LGBTQI plus young people to access safe, affirming spaces and support. So yeah, go along down to St. Michael's Anglican Church, and yeah, buy some things, support community. help young trans and gender diverse people.
And eat some cake and bake treats.
And Brody will be there eating cake.
I will be. Whenever there is a cake stall or anything that has freshly baked treats, I am there.
It's just you're the cryptid goblin.
Honestly, I truly am.
Awesome. Cool. That's your week in community events and news. And we are hungry.
We are for change. I have an appetite for change.
What kind of change?
Oh, where do you want me to start?
Yeah, like how much time you got?
Honestly.
Not enough.
But the reason I have an appetite for change, I'm just trying to rearrange everything right now, is there is a very exciting conference project coming up on the 12th and 13th of March, which is next Thursday and Friday, I believe. Yes, it is. Altogether. Yeah. And so this is a first time it's happening. It is a Appetite for Change 2026 conference, and it is the first of its kind, a 2-day event exploring eating, feeding. Also, before I continue, I'm just going to give a little content warning over just like brief discussion of eating disorders and the intersections of neurodivergence, queerness, transness, chronic illness, and things like that. So if you are like somewhat sensitive to those kind of things, just tune out if you want to, or listen with care. So the Appetite for Change conference is a 2-day event happening online, and it is accessible globally because it is both happening on the, what date was it? 12th and 13th, and it is recorded as well. So you can watch the sessions back. And it is I guess it's a conference of folks who have gotten together to discuss about how it's like exploring eating, feeding, and the body at the intersections of neurodivergence, queerness, transness, chronic illness, disability, and other marginalised identities. So basically, for too long, mainstream systems and services have shaped how we understand and respond to eating disorders, differences, and difficulties. And it exists to kind of centre and uplift the voices and experiences of those who are overlooked, dismissed, or harmed. So it's very exciting. I am also very nervous. There is lots of cool kind of conference presentations and sessions around this. There is a few presenters who I absolutely admire in this space. So
there's Kai.
Kai has been on this show before.
Yeah.
So Kai, do you remember how to say Kai's last name? Schwarzer? Schwarzer, yes.
Yeah.
So Kai is a researcher and a PhD candidate with a focus on eating disorders, gender diversity, neurodivergence, and their intersections.
Yeah.
So Kai is presenting at the conference. It is organised by the incredible Yuggera, who is a queer, trans, ADHD, chronically ill and disabled person, and they are a clinical psychologist, advocate, and supervisor, and they have basically organised this whole conference themselves.
Wow.
So they have put in so much effort to do this, because coming from working in this space and seeing the need for these conversations to happen and the need for the systems to change, Lumen has gone and organised this, and there are so many folks who are absolute trailblazers in this space presenting as well.
There's so many presenters. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through the website.
There are so many.
So many. Wow, this is awesome.
It will be shared on the Tranzmission socials. Thanks, Ez.
Yeah, it's up there. You can head over there now if you'd like to take a look. And you can also sign up to a mailing list so you can get some updates as well.
Scroll down a bit there, Ez.
Oh, what? It's Brody.
That is me. I am also presenting.
Oh my gosh. And what exactly will you be talking about?
It is something that is very personal to me. Mine is talking about, what was my abstract? Let me just remind myself.
Refresh your mind. There's lots of, I think, like, also there's so many intersections when we think about food.
Yeah, that's
so there's
it.
I understand why there's so many speakers. So having those kind of like
there's so many intersections, and everyone experiences these things differently, and it's something that I have experienced and battled with myself for a really long time. And when this came up, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just do it. And my title is Too Complex to Treat: Navigating the Public Eating Disorder System as a Queer, Neurodivergent, Chronically Ill, Non-Binary Person. And it's talking about my experiences in Queensland trying to receive help for eating disorders and other intersectional issues. And I guess I'm talking about what my experiences were, and I guess as a group facilitating the conversation to be able to reimagine how we can do it specifically in Queensland, because within the Queensland receiving treatment in Queensland, it's one of the strictest protocols and guidelines in Australia, actually. And it's very harmful and detrimental for a lot of folks. And my own experiences have had many negative things because being like a non-binary person and things like that. So it's caused a lot of secondary trauma from receiving help. So I'm going to be talking about how we can, I guess, reimagine it within Queensland specifically. So
interesting. I don't actually know, so you can maybe enlighten me a little bit. But when it comes to navigating eating disorders or eating behaviors even, are they typically very binary in the way that they approach, like how the system is? You're laughing, I can see it.
Yes, they are extremely binary, and especially from my own experiences in Queensland, they are very have certain guidelines that don't fit gender diverse bodies and folks, because they are very even though I don't believe in this, but BMI focused, I guess, in ways. Yeah. So obviously, if you are a trans person, your BMI is going to be, not that it matters, I think it's all bull anyway.
Yeah.
But they are very binary with that kind of stuff, and they have specific male or female admission criteria and receiving help criteria in Queensland specifically.
And, these kinds of things are also, not only are they gender binary, but they're also racist.
They really are. And receiving going into using my experiences within the public mental health system is a lot of the wards are male or female. Mm-hmm. And being told that, hey, you can't actually be admitted even though you need to, because we don't have room for you and we don't know where to put you.
Yeah, you're...
I'm okay, well, I'll just go home then.
I'll show myself out. Yeah.
I'll see you later.
Yeah.
So yes, I think it's something that's really important to have the conversations about. And in a lot of the kind of mental health and eating disorder specific industry, advocacy area, we don't get a chance to talk about this stuff. So that's why I think the Appetite for Change project is really important, because it allows us to have a forum where we can all just both from our lived experiences and professional experiences as well, to talk about how we can reimagine this and how we can, I guess, improve it for not just trans and gender diverse folks, but all the intersections that go within that. So I think it's really exciting and powerful, and there's lots of really cool topics that you may not get spoken about elsewhere. So
yeah, definitely check it out. And I think also good to note for you, dear listener, if you are unaware, but eating difficulties and body image related things are particularly high within the trans and gender diverse community.
Yes, so they are.
If you're interested in learning a bit more about how that affects our community, you can go check out appetiteforchangeproject.com. You can take a look at all the presenters there, their values, as well as how you can access the conference, whether you're online at home, want to watch it back later, or so on. Hopefully this is something that is a big success, and we hear it again in the following year as well. So
I surely hope so.
My name is Iris, and you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. Subscribe or donate to keep community radio alive.
Hello, you're listening to Transmission on 4ZZZ. My name is Ez. I use he, him pronouns.
My name is Brody. I use they, them.
We're going to get into some pretty hectic conversation around Mardi Gras 2026. So, for those of you who don't know what Mardi Gras is, because you never know, Mardi Gras is it's the gay and lesbian parade that is every year, predominantly there's floats and things, and thousands of people turn out. It's kind of like a big queer party, and it started in the late 70s as protesting against the police and police brutality against the queer community, and then it has kind of eventuated into this big annual event that we celebrate Yeah, and I believe Bad Bunny was performing this year, as well as
Was he performing at Mardi Gras though, or just happened to be in Sydney?
I think he just happened to be in Sydney, but people keep being like, Bad Bunny. So I'm like,
I
all right,
love
we'll
it.
throw it in.
I love it. Have to mention that.
And I don't dislike Bad Bunny. But yeah, so there's like there's a lot going on, and over the years, there's a lot of criticism around Mardi Gras and what's going on with the board and the decisions they're making and the censorship that is inevitably being undertaken around the event. So I've actually put together like a few different news articles that I have read post Mardi Gras, and also shout out to Zed Reception Adrian for sending me a media release that was meant to go out before Mardi Gras. They're talking a little bit about a panel that was about policing and protest rights that was cancelled just before the parade was meant to take place. So let's just cover off on some things. So activist group barred from Sydney Mardi Gras parade over social media posts. So organisers of the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras have banned activist collective Pride in Protest from taking part in this year's parade following controversial social media posts targeting Jewish LGBTQ+ group DANU. Mardi Gras Chief Executive Jesse Matheson said the post, which labelled DANU pro-genocide, breached the parade's code of conduct prohibiting harassment and discriminatory behaviour toward other participants. The group was issued a written warning and given a deadline to respond and remove the content, but failed to comply, leading organisers to revoke its participation to maintain a safe and inclusive environment for marchers. Pride and Protest has criticised the decision as censorship and argued it was being excluded from expressing political views, while some supporters, including Greens MP Amanda Conn, raised concerns about freedom of expression within the event. DANU said it was deeply hurt by the accusations and welcomed organisers' efforts to uphold respectful conduct, emphasising it is not a political or Zionist organisation. Sorry. The controversy unfolded amid heightened tensions and security concerns around this year's Mardi Gras, highlighting ongoing debates about protest, community standards, and inclusion within one of Australia's largest LGBTQ+ celebrations. So, censorship going on. Pride and Protest also have a bit of history at the moment. There's ongoing with the board actually misgendering Charlie, I believe the head of Pride of Protest, and also barring them from participating as board members of Mardi Gras in trying to advocate for more trans rights and trans awareness around what's happening for the community in the protest as well. So there's a pretty big crackdown on Pride and Protest, which is very disappointing. So there's a few things happening there with censorship for grassroots activists, but also Another really notable part was that there was some protests to protest against Mardi Gras at the event, and this article that I read here. So allegations of police brutality emerged following Sydney Mardi Gras parade. Reports of alleged police brutality during the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras are being investigated after footage circulated online appearing to show officers forcibly removing participants from the event. According to LGBTQIA+ publication Star Observer, one marcher claimed they were grabbed by the neck and thrown to the floor while taking part in the parade. With videos showing police using physical force against several individuals, witnesses and community members have raised concerns about whether the response was proportionate, particularly as some participants say those involved were marching peacefully at the time. Advocates and activists are now calling for accountability and greater scrutiny of policing at Pride events, arguing the incident has reignited long-standing tensions between law enforcement and parts of the LGBTQIA+ community. The allegations come amid broader debate about police presence at Mardi Gras and the balance between safety enforcement and community trust. Authorities have not yet publicly detailed the circumstances surrounding the removals, and it remains unclear whether any formal complaints or investigations will follow. So this is post Mardi Gras. This is what's happened. I have seen footage circulating online of police brutality, very clearly and very obviously police brutality at Mardi Gras. But then also before Mardi Gras was meant to happen, there's a media release announces some criticism following the ABC last-minute cancellation of a planned panel discussion about policing protest rights and whether New South Wales Police should participate in Mardi Gras at all. Organisers argue the decision to removed an important public forum at a time of heightened debate around hate laws, protest restrictions, racism, and allegations of excessive police at demonstrations. Speakers involved in this panel that was pulled by the ABC included researcher and activist Leota Ararul, say the cancellation silenced communities raising concerns about unequal enforcement of laws and police harm, particularly affecting First Nations, Muslim, Palestinian, Jewish, and queer communities. The statement calls on ABC leadership to provide an explanation and public apology, questioning whether political pressure or sensitivities surrounding Palestine advocacy influenced the decision. Participants, including journalist Wendy Bacon, argue the cancellation undermines editorial independence and public trust, stressing that public broadcasters have a responsibility to host difficult discussions about civil liberties and state power. So the release concludes that open debate is essential, especially ahead of Mardi Gras. So, and also Mardi Gras, an event rooted in protests against police brutality.
Yeah, right.
And warns that panelists may withdraw consent for their participation if the discussion is not aired before the parade. So yeah, this was all very sudden. This all happened just before Mardi Gras, and then Mardi Gras happens, and then police brutality.
What a kerfuffle.
What kerfuffle indeed. So, dear listener, what is going on? We have community in crisis here, and there is a lot of silencing of community around what they say, what we want for our events. This Mardi Gras is not for other people.
That's it.
That's the point. And police at Mardi Gras 2026 were violently attacking members of our community yet again, just like they did in 1978. And that footage is around. You can look that up. So I don't know. I'm pretty heated about it because I think it's pretty gross.
I think it is as well. And I think it's looking at it from a broader perspective of the history of it as well. I think it's really gross and really concerning.
It is concerning. It's also it's quite trans exclusionary. You have trans members of, Mardi Gras have trans members of the board who have been asking for more support during Mardi Gras to donate funds to support the trans kids and also the community and fight against hatred. We really need to stand in solidarity together because, as you may be aware as well, there's an increase in hate crimes towards gay and lesbian communities as well. This is not just trans people.
Exactly, and I think it's a time that we all need to stand together, and because we are together, we can do better things and not just have divisions within our own community. Yeah.
And we're going to need to stand together because when you look at things like the state of the police, particularly in New South Wales, with the topic of Mardi Gras, and also the protest against the president of Israel,
yes,
police have a particular modus operandi at the moment, which is attack dogs for the state. So we need to be looking at solidarity with each other. And I think we also need to be really aware of what's going on and the patterns that are emerging. So we have an increase in police brutality, increase in that response within community. Also with these anti-terrorist hate speech laws that are coming in, supposedly anti-terrorist. People are afraid of saying from the river to the sea. I was watching something recently that said that, if you're afraid of, if people are cracking down, if the government are angry that you're saying from the river to the sea, well, that means it's working. That's what I understand.
Yep, so true.
If you're afraid of a simple statement like that and you feel uncomfortable about it, maybe you should consider what it is that you feel so uncomfortable about.
Exactly. Sit in your discomfort and figure out why you're uncomfortable.
In the same way that maybe you could ask why you feel so much discomfort around gay, queer, and trans people as well. This is not our problem. It's not a queer person's problem. It's not a trans person's problem that you're upset.
Exactly.
And also, ultimately, I think there needs to be an investigation into what's going on with the police, particularly New South Wales at the moment, because it seems to be very racially charged and also transphobic, homophobic. So, yeah, I don't know. Brody, what are your thoughts on this?
I have so many thoughts. I'm just trying to get them into a coherent...
That isn't just rage.
Yeah, right. I have so many... Yeah, trying to organize them into a coherent statement that isn't, Yeah, just rage. So
Yeah.
if we can come back to my thoughts, I will have some more.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
just
that's
trying
all
to
good. I think like as well, one of the big things is supporting. What we can do at the moment is support our trans community. So like the events that I mentioned earlier in the show, if you're just tuning in to Tranzmission now, I will repeat some of those events. There's a trans youth fundraiser this Sunday, 8th of March, down at Yard Dogs in Fortitude Valley, which are raising money for AusPass Project 491, which all funds go towards trans young people accessing life-saving gender-affirming care. You can head down and do that. So that's something you can do. And there's also a garage sale at St. Michael's Anglican Church for Open Doors Youth Service, also putting some money together and funds so that way, young trans kids can have access to safe affirming spaces and support through free community counselling and all sorts of stuff. So showing up and being present is a big one. Another thing that you can do is also share things around on social media, broaden the reach of what's going on, particularly on the ground, and what's happened recently at Mardi Gras. So I think they're coming up to 50 years too. It's going to be 50 years in 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
And are we going to see like history repeat?
Yeah, right.
Is it just going to increase?
Because at times it feels like it is, especially with everything that's going on and what has happened over the weekend at Mardi Gras as well. It's very like concerning that it is reading I think it was the one that you had at the end there.
You can read that if you like.
The opinion piece. I had a look briefly before, and it's someone reflects on the festival's origins in this 1978 protest against police and how it kind of feels like it's history repeating itself. And this isn't something that I've just seen on this one. I've seen it many times of people who were at the first Mardi Gras or in the early days who have said it feels like the police brutality is repeating itself. And that is really concerning because it's nearly 50 years ago. And we shouldn't be having to go back to these things again to fight for respect in our rights.
Yeah, I watched some footage that was like a copy, like it was footage from the 78 protests alongside the recent protests. And they're identical.
Exactly.
They're identical. History repeating. I'm not happy.
No, neither. I have a lot of rage in me.
Yeah.
That's why my words aren't working in. I could say many words, but not suitable.
Well, yeah, and also, is it a bit dated to call it the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras? I mean, there's a lot of other kind of people there now.
Yeah, that's it. There's so many groups within it who don't just fit under that umbrella topic. Yeah. And
also, like, there's also, we've expanded as a community. We're more inclusive than we were before. So I thought, things need to evolve and change with the times. Also, it's just such a corporate event now. Part of the reason, in a previous episode of Tranzmission, I shared some news around how Pride and Protest, the grassroots activist group, were two of their members, one of their members is on the board for Mardi Gras, and they were misgendered in an email. They were banned from essentially attending board meetings because they were advocating for trans rights and asking the organizers to prioritize some more care for the trans community, and they've kind of had really hard backlash on that, and silencing really is what's happened. And part of the reasons that Mardi Gras board said that they weren't going to do anything in particular for raising awareness or support for trans community was because something along the lines of wanting to protect their funding bodies and protecting their corporate nature.
Yeah.
Corporate police, Mardi Gras 2026. Getting it more and more concerned. If you have thoughts on this, please text in on 0420626733 to tell us what you think about Mardi Gras.
Let us know what you think and about cops in Pride space.
Yeah.
That's another whole conversation that we could have about how it's at times detrimental to have a police presence in these spaces because there's been so much harm caused by historically and currently by police and other services within Pride spaces. And I think it's really harmful. So
yeah. Police are not there to de-escalate. They're always there to escalate. That's it. That's how it is. Police... Why any institution like the police is marching in solidarity with anything is very confusing to me. Police are what's the whole premise of a cop, right? Your job is to enforce,
serve the law.
Yeah, the law. That's what they, right? Protect and serve the law, not people. The law. That's your job. Your job is to do whatever the law is.
And what is the law to do with Mardi Gras? Why are they?
Yeah. Why are you enforcing law at Mardi Gras? Why? What is pride in that?
Where is the
You're
legislation?
amoral at best, guys.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry, but there's nothing about a cop that is moral, because morals are not laws. They're separate. They're not related.
100%.
And so that's where the argument comes from. But also, if you have a community that have been traumatized by police brutality, like in this instance, the queer community, don't have them marching alongside those people, because that's very hypocritical. It contradicts itself. And then, in light of what's going on at the moment, I would say that it's getting more stressful again. Anyway. Transmission, all about amplifying the voices of the trans community and beyond. We've been talking a little bit about police and Mardi Gras and what's been going on. I'm Ez, he, him.
I'm Brody, they, them.
And we had a text in. Thank you so much, CJ, for messaging in. And CJ has said, obviously I'm not defending anyone in that uniform, but Cops at Mardi Gras was about a group of queer cops trying to make change within the cops and to stop discrimination in the police force. I'm torn on this one. Everyone should have the right to be in any profession they want. I don't get why anyone would want to be a cop or married, but I fought very hard for marriage equality, even though marriage is the cause of a lot of problematic gender norms and abuse. Intersections are hard.
100% CJ.
They are so hard. You're so right. And it can be complicated. Some people have different relationships with police. I understand that. And that institution as well. Many members of the queer community oppose police participation at community events because of its historical relationship between, police and queers. And events such as Pride at Mardi Gras, originated as protests against police violence, most famously following the 1969 Stonewall Uprising in New York, and similar clashes in Australia, which we know the Mardi Gras in 1978. For some community members, particularly trans and First Nations people, sex workers, migrants, and other people of colour, policing remains associated with discrimination, over-policing, and negative encounters with law enforcement. So, as a result, visible police presence at celebratory events like Mardi Gras can feel confronting rather than reassuring, and it is viewed as, inconsistent with the protest roots of the gathering. So, yeah. And whereas others argue that allowing uniformed police to march or maintain a prominent role risks pinkwashing, where institutions are seen as benefiting from association with pride celebrations without fully addressing ongoing concerns about profiling, use of force, or treatment of marginalized groups. And advocates call for reduced or non-uniform police involvement, so don't just rock up as you are, don't rock up as representing that institution, and that means that we're emphasizing a community-led safety model instead, such as, we could have things like trained volunteers, harm reduction teams, and culturally competent security approaches. But yeah, opinions vary within the LGBTQA plus community. Obviously, my opinions are my opinions, particularly when it comes to police. But yeah, with some supporting police inclusion as a sign of progress and improvement, but the debate is still pretty broad, and intersections are hard, as CJ said. So how we balance celebration safety and, our political history, and what queer liberation movements look like as we go forward in time. So these are all things to think about. These are things that I'll be thinking about over the next week or so, because I think an increase in police, presence at the moment is alarming, and our government aren't doing what we're asking them to do. And we have organizations not doing what community are asking. And so instead of listening to us and being willing to have a conversation or sitting down at a panel, for example, instead of canceling that panel, you're actually aggravating, you're making the problem worse. If you just sat down and have a conversation with us, maybe we could figure out
That's it.
how we can work together and get our goals met. But at this point, the goals that it seems like you're trying to achieve is to silence us, which will not work. Historically, does not work.
Exactly. It will not achieve anything, and it can't be anything done without the community being part of it.
Yeah.
And
nothing about us without us, sort of thing.
That's what I was trying to say, but it was like getting very confused in my head.
I can read Brody.
Yeah. Nothing about us without us, and we can't have progress if we don't get to have the conversations and have our say, I guess, about what we want as the community.
Yeah, and look, people are less likely to be mad at you when you just listen to them for a minute. So, maybe do that. Listen, repeat back to us what you have taken from listening as well, so we know that you understand. And yeah, we can collaborate.
Exactly.
We can all live in this world together.
We can. We definitely can. Yeah.
Intersections are hard, and then next message from CJ, but also FTP.
Intersections are hard. They're conflicting.
They are hard. And, you know, for Triple Z, we're all about talking about the intersections of a myriad of different things, which is why intersections exist, is how it all comes together and how we all form together as a society, as a community, as a group of people. And one way that you can do that, I know for sure one way you can do that, is by supporting 4ZZZ, the greatest radio station in all the world. You can head to 4ZZZ.org.au/support. There's a bunch of different subscription types that you can choose from. They are all annual subscriptions, and it means that you keep us on air. It keeps us speaking our community truth. We are by the people, for the people, powered radio.
People powered.
Yeah. There are people downstairs on bikes, like those stationary
powering
bikes.
us. Yeah. Yep.
Powering us right now. And if you donate to 4ZZZ, people will be able to keep riding and powering the station. So yeah, do that. You can also do tax refundable donations as well to us. So you can check all that out on the 4ZZZ website. Keep pedaling down there, guys. You're doing well. My shift's coming up soon.
Yeah, that's it. We'll be down there soon.
So yeah, keep community radio alive. We are still probably, as far as I'm aware, the only free media left. We are not influenced by editors or stages of censoring and filtration before things come on air. We are regular Joes, just hanging, or Joeys or Josies or whatever you are.
Just a little guy.
Just little guys out there just doing our thing. And we are experiencing Mianj and Brisbane, this country, for ourselves, and we're sharing our experiences on the microphone here. There's no filtration between that.
That is it.
Community radio is free media, and keep us alive. So yeah, donate, support the cause. But thank you so much for tuning in to Transmission, and we'll see you all next Monday. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Transmission. Catch us every Monday live on 4ZZZ from 10 a.m. or listen to our podcast on the Community Radio Plus app.